Oh, thank you for joining us. Please note the Q&A down at the bottom. If you have questions as we're going through, we are going to try to address those. And I would like to go ahead and introduce Laura Flynn. Laura, take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Flynn. I'm the CTE or Career Technical Education Director for NHA, and I'm excited to be here today. Susan?
Oh, sorry, my name is Susan Dalebout, and I am the director of our customer experience or client experience team. And I'm excited to be here today as well to talk with you all about certification.
Yes, it's really an important time of year. There's so much going on. We really wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about the importance of certifying your learners. So today we're going to talk about empowering your learners to access a better future. We're going to talk through eligibility requirements and exam options as we roll through this ever-changing flexible learning environment. We're going to talk about hybrid learning resources and then planning for certification. As you know, our healthcare industry today is more complex and faces greater challenges than ever before. The need for frontline healthcare workers continues to increase, but hiring and retaining qualified candidates for in-demand roles, especially in healthcare support roles, can be difficult. Physicians and their care teams may be burned out from being challenged to do more with less. Employers are turning to allied health employees to take on more responsibility that is easing the burden of other members of the care team. And it's critical that they are able to perform at the top of their credential. Finally, the patient population is growing older and sicker with more chronic conditions to manage. Quality care, communication, and patient engagement are more important than ever before. These challenges cause weakness in the care team, and it's clear that a need for more and more qualified healthcare workers is needed. So how do we help individuals gain access to these important and vital roles? Well, we also know that when an individual earns a certification, it can really change their life. And so because our learning environment is changing, we don't want to take away the opportunity to for an individual to earn that credential. So taking the time to make sure we help them meet their personal goals is really about changing lives. We also know that employers over and over again look for certified people when they are hiring. 72% of employers look for whether they have certification in their hiring needs and in their hiring processes. And if their certification isn't listed, they're much less likely to interview them. We also know that we are working towards, or we're in the middle of a pandemic, working towards post-pandemic hiring. And we know that living in this strange time is really creating even more of a volatile environment for hiring. Employers need certified employees more than ever. And these are just some quotes we wanted to share. Managers will have to operate on lower staffing levels, and this will force them to step up to the challenge by hiring more carefully. So knowing that they are hiring quality employees becomes extremely important. Also, in a recent article, Job Search during the pandemic, Jason Alba suggested that job seekers need to be on their best game. The pandemic makes it necessary to do more of what we know works best. And last but not least, 63% of our institutions see an increase in pay when an employee earns professional certification. And we know that that's extremely important for every student in our space. Susan, would you like to share a little bit about eligibility and exams?
Yeah, sure. So understanding how important it is to certify and also all of the challenges that we've all faced with in-person learning. One of the things that NHA assertively pursued was the opportunity for the eligibility and externship pathways for your candidates, for your students that you're engaging with, to have some flexibility to them. So if you aren't currently working with your certification specialist, to have some flexibility on the stick requirements for CPT or the EKG requirements for our CET exam, or for any externship requirements that you have for your program, please do know that we do have some flexible eligibility pathways for candidates. And essentially what this means is that your candidates who are challenging exams can take their NHA certification before they complete those eligibility requirements for the CPT, CET exam, or for externship, because we know externship locations can be a little bit challenged right now with COVID and with different government requirements. So we do have pathways that allow for 180 days to complete the CPT stick requirement, the CET live EKG requirement, or any externship requirements that your program may have. In order to put this in place for your campus or your online learning programs, you just need to reach out to your NHA certification specialist, and they can walk you through more of the details of putting this eligibility pathway into place that will give your candidates a little bit more time to complete those requirements and receive their final certification. But they can challenge the exam before they do those final requirements during this unique COVID time. Again, just follow up with your NHA representative or leave us a quick note in chat or in the Q&A, letting us know that you want us to follow up with you, and we can do that and explain that in a little bit more detail. The other thing that NHA has done to address these very unique times is we know that there needs to be more flexibility in the testing options that you have available. So we have 3 different testing options that are available, and these would really be your choice based upon local requirements for COVID and any social distancing requirements and or requirements for whether or not you can be on campus based upon your personal location. But we do have 3 different testing options available to candidates and to our partner institutions. The first one is to test on-site. That is an option that is still available, assuming your local government requirements allow you to be on-site and in person still, and you can still deliver exams on-site and online. Those on-site exams still need to have a proctor in person in order to have those exams proctored in a safe and secure and test secure environment. The second option that we have is secure live remote proctoring. Some of you may be familiar with this or already using it as an NHA partnered institution. And if you're not and want more information, we definitely are happy to share that. But you can, through PSI, sign up to have your candidates do live remote proctoring. And that again is through PSI, our testing partner. And then you can also have candidates test at PSI locations, again, where local regulations allow for that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our live remote proctoring option. This was new. This is an NCCA approved option for testing. And again, our partner with this testing modality is PSI, who handles many, many different certification and licensure exams in addition to those that they handle for NHA. With PSI, we launched live remote proctoring in May of 2020. And since that time, we have administered through PSI over 30,000 exams using live remote proctors. In order to do that, you need to, again, work with your certification specialist. And if you're not currently set up to have your candidates test live remote proctoring and you need to move to that testing modality due to any changes in local regulations, we can help you do that and explain how that works. And your candidates would simply register through their NHA account as they would for any other test and choose a PSI live remote proctor option once your account is set up for that. A couple of really important things to know about live remote proctoring. These exams are proctored by PSI trained staff only. So unlike on-site exams, which you can still do on campus and use your own proctor, the live remote proctor option through PSI is only allowed to be used through a PSI trained proctor. You again schedule that through your NHA account. You need to use approved devices. So the great news is Chromebooks were not compatible up until recently, but those Chromebooks, which are very popular, especially in the K-12 market, are now compatible with live remote proctoring. And there is a tech check available. So if you are interested in doing live remote proctoring and want to know if your candidates' devices are compatible, they can easily check that through a quick link, which we would be happy to provide. This does still require a secure testing environment, which would be in the candidate's home, but we have the guidelines available for that so candidates can be appropriately coached in what a secure testing environment looks like in this unique live remote proctoring environment. But it is a super user-friendly option if that is something that you need based upon what limitations that you may have in your local area because of COVID. We are doing another webinar tomorrow. If you are new to LRP or are interested in learning more about how to do live remote proctoring, or if you've already done it but just want to become more familiar with it and learn more, we are doing a webinar tomorrow. You can see it at the bottom of the screen called The Ultimate Guide to Live Remote Proctoring, where we will go very in depth on this process and give you some key reminders and also some key learning lessons that we have learned since May of 2020 when we launched this feature. All right, so next slide. One of the really important things that we know is you have candidates who you are preparing for these exams and who you're maybe preparing in a very unique environment of teaching them online versus in person or doing a hybrid model, is that it's important to prepare for certification. And because of our resources are primarily online, this is still completely feasible. So we wanted to just give you a couple of quick reminders of things that you can do as you are looking at preparing your candidates for taking these tests. So planning for certification, as you're talking with candidates who are interested in certifying and having that industry recognized credential, encourage them to register for their exam. Again, this is done through the NHA account, which they either already have because they're using our Cert Prep resources, or they can easily create. And the second thing that you can do in the time that you have left before your students are wrapping up maybe this semester is you can review the test plan with them. That's something that we can easily share for you. It's also available on our NHA website. But let us know if you need help finding that. You can go over the test plan with your candidates and let them know what is going to be tested on the NHA certification exam. And the other thing that we want to draw your attention to is this is a really great time, if you haven't been doing it already, to leverage NHA's practice assessments, which are aligned to the test plan and mimic the testing experience, and have candidates leverage focused review. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And then of course, step 3 is to take their NHA exam as scheduled using one of the 3 testing options that we have available and that we can assure you're set up correctly for. So the first step is just this next screen, is just a really quick screenshot of how easy it is to register for an exam or apply for an exam. So again, within our NHA certification platform, the candidate can just easily choose the apply button. They will choose the exam that they want to take, and they will do a quick attestation that confirms that they have completed the requirements to be eligible to take the exam. And so really user-friendly process, and they can, from there will then go and choose the exam date that best works for them. The second step is we have identified best practices that our candidates can use in order to ensure that they have an ideal testing experience. If you haven't already been following these in your program, we definitely want to have the opportunity to teach you more about these best practices. So connect with your certification specialist if you want to learn more about ensuring best practices are followed in your upcoming semesters. But a really important thing is towards the end of each program is when you really can be leveraging the practice assessments. And the power of the practice assessments is that it gives the candidates the opportunity to take a test-like exam that mimics their NHA certification exam so they can become familiar with that experience. So if we go to the next slide, this will just show you a couple of screenshots of what the test looks like. There are 3 different practice assessments, and they follow the full test plan. Each of the practice assessments can be taken twice. So you have a total of 6 practice assessments that are available to your candidates right now. Every attempt at that exam, at that practice assessment, is evaluated for exam readiness and tells the candidate how they're performing against the concepts that are being tested on the exam. And every question has rationale to help with preparation. So we not only tell students what they answered wrong or right, but we also tell them why it's wrong or right. And I can tell you, having just done this last night with my high school student, those rationale are incredibly helpful in understanding how to retake a quiz or a practice assessment and score better the next time. So rationales are an incredibly powerful tool that you can coach your candidates to use with their practice assessments. And then one of the really key features that we have that is incredibly powerful for exam preparation is our focused review. And if you're not familiar with the focused review, what it is it's a unique personalized study plan that is created after each practice assessment that is essentially a personalized study guide for candidates. And what it does is it takes the areas where they underperformed and it creates a mini study guide that they can use to study those areas and remediate on the knowledge that they need to know in order to perform better on their next practice assessment or on their exam, if that's the time frame that they're within. It's really important to direct candidates to this focused review. I've been working with students preparing for standardized exams for a long time, much of my career. And a couple things that I know is that students tend to study and restudy the concepts that are comfortable to them, that they're already familiar with and have mastery with. And so the focused review directs candidates to the areas where they have the most ability to impact their score more quickly by learning the things that they most need to learn to improve their score. The great thing about focused review is it can be printed. So if you have candidates who don't have access to internet at home or in a way that's easily readable to them, this is something that could be printed at your campus if you're still on campus, and they can carry it with them. The focus review, again, it's a personalized study plan. It's available with competency outcomes on their test performance report. And again, it pulls only the competencies that they missed. It's really important, not that candidates take as many exams as possible or as many practice assessments as possible. What's most important is that they take a practice assessment and that they study in between to have the best chance to improve their score by reviewing the areas where they could improve their content mastery. So a couple of just quick suggestions for focus review that you can do either in an online or in-person environment is you can have your candidates work through their focus review in pairs or in teams. You can have them have group or individual discussions around their focus review. And you can also direct them to create some flashcards or mini quizzes for themselves before they, again, challenge a next practice assessment or take their exam. So these are just a couple of things that you can do. So again, a couple of, just to reiterate, 3 unique things that we are doing in order to address this unique COVID learning environment that we've all been trying to very quickly adapt to is we have changed the eligibility and externship timeline to allow more flexibility so that candidates can finish their online learning, challenge an NHA certification, and then their exam result goes into a queue and is released once they finish their sticks or their EKG or you approve their externship finish. Again, reach out to your certification specialist if we can provide more information. The second thing that we've done is since May, we've been offering live remote proctoring so that your candidates are not limited in testing by whatever the local COVID requirements are, or that would potentially have prevented testing before. So if that's something that you need to learn more about, we're happy to follow up with that. And then the third thing is definitely leverage those practice assessments because those are all online and the focus review is online as well and can be leveraged regardless of classroom presence to ensure your candidates are well prepared for test day. So I'm going to hand this back to Laura and she is going to just provide a couple more tips for us.
Yeah, this is, thank you, Susan. That's so great. I just love to take a moment to share a success story. This is Ashley, who is a candidate of ours who received her pharmacy technician certification. And I'm just going to read her quote she sent to us. It says, "I started my pharmacy technician career because of my grandfather. He battled cancer for 6 years and always told me of the sweet technicians he got to know wherever he would pick up his medications. He would say, Ashley, you should get into pharmacy because you could make someone's day every day. After college, I applied to the hospital inpatient pharmacy and have since worked in retail, inpatient, and long-term care settings. I wish my grandfather knew. I pursued his idea for me, but also how much I honestly enjoy it."
Laura, you didn't forward on your slides. Do you want to forward one?
Oh,
There we go.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't know it was going to make me tear up. It's been a while since I've read that one out loud, so thanks. I do also want to take a moment and just share some resources. While I pull up a video for us to do a quick watch on, I do want to share with you, there's a couple of things. On nhanow.com, you can find the link to our LRP webinar tomorrow, the Ultimate Guide to Live Remote Proctoring. The registration link, you can get to it from our homepage. Laura also shared it in the chat today. And then we also have some how-to guides and resources for all of the topics we're talking about today. While I pull the video up, Laura, would you like to see if there's any questions we should be answering in the queue?
Yeah, we've had a lot of really consistent questions just about who is accepted to proctor a remote proctored exam. Oh, here, let me share my face again. So to be very, very clear, the remote proctored exam testing is routed through our third-party testing agency, PSI. If you have candidates who need to test remotely, that is something that a trained PSI employee on remote proctoring using their specific secure platform can do. For any on-site testing, as long as there isn't a breach of compliance for you to be able to proctor. So nobody with any vested interest in the student's outcome should probably proctor an exam for our typical on-site online exams. You can become a proctor, but the remote proctoring is only through specifically trained PSI personnel. I hope that brings a little bit of clarity to that. That was really the most consistent question, that, and is there an extra charge to remote proctoring, which at this time there is not an additional charge to leverage the remote proctored exams. We're getting a couple others in here. Laura, let me know whenever you are.
Nope, go ahead. Questions are more important.
Great. So, your role at your institution, whether or not it's acceptable for you to be a proctor, if you were doing our traditional on-site online testing, is really up to you to determine. You can complete the proctor training if you choose to, but we do want to be careful about any breach of compliance in that space. Let's see, can the College Testing Center be completely removed from live remote proctoring experience? So the College Testing Center is not a remote proctoring experience. Remote proctoring, again, only occurs one-on-one from the student's scheduling with a PSI specifically trained personnel. So your testing center is going to be a little bit different than that. ID requirements for remote testing is a government issued photo ID, but it cannot be a military ID because during the remote testing process, they have to take a picture of it, and that is illegal to take a picture of a military ID. But any government issued photo ID, a passport, for example, a driver's license, those are all acceptable in that space. Let's
Laura,
see.
I see a chat
Yeah.
a question in the chat. There was a question about the best practices we shared with study times for the online materials. And for any instructor that's on the line, those best practices for each hour is based in our educator implementation guide. And you can get those from your certification specialist. Did you want to add anything to that, Laura?
Yeah, best practices. So we take that data specifically from, looking at candidate outcomes across the country, and best practices for using the online prep material is based off of that kind of unique content, but also a pace. It's really a rhythm, going through systematically those online study guides, using those for review before taking that first practice test. And then as Susan was talking to, studying in between them and then trying another, that's kind of the best practice that we talk to. But all of that is outlined as an administrator in our associated implementation guides that if you don't have for your certification, you can get from your NHA specialist, your certification specialist, that kind of gives you a little bit more detail into what that might look like for that unique exam. We have 8 different certifications that we provide. So each one does have a slightly different rhythm or flow, but that general outline of study, then practice test, then study some more is really what we're aiming at for the kind of high level outline. Did that answer your question, Laura?
It did. And then
Great.
One of the other questions in the chat is, how far in advance do students need to register for the remote PSI exam?
Oh, well, a lot of that does depend on availability. Generally speaking, from when they, submit their application, they can start scheduling, again, based off of PSI availability within a 24-hour period ahead of time. Um, that sort of does just depend. They have a 6-month window from their application date to sit for and complete that exam, whether it be in any of PSI's open locations around the country or in a remote proctored exam experience.
Perfect. I think we have everything in the chat answered.
Yep, I'm going to work on the Q&A some more while you show. You said you've got a video to show, right?
I do. Let's see if I can make this work.
In the healthcare field is the best way to give back to your community. It's something that is true, that is pure, because you're truly giving your time, knowledge, strength to the community that you live in.
I am currently a patient care technician at the hospital. I earned my certification, and I just transferred departments. I just got into the emergency room, and I am also going to nursing school right now.
When you become certified, it shows that you've mastered the skill and that you're taking the extra step to want to be the best.
The credentialing that NHA has allowed our students to have over the past 15 years has validated their skill set.
We're going to be taking care of people's lives. The certification just proves that you're capable of doing that.
Earning certifications that add value not only to your employer and to yourself, but also the patients that you are serving, as they're counting on you to be competent and knowledgeable in your profession.
Most meaningful part of my work is when our customers see the value in our products.
We just recently got into doing more certifications for our students, and it has really been an awesome experience.
I love the fact that they're so well known now. They're ready and willing to help whenever they can.
Working with the NHA has been a fantastic experience. All of the representatives that we've worked with when we've needed something, quick response, professional, and just a pleasure to work with.
An abundance of ways to help the student, online learning, practice tests, and they make it fun.
The way that learn these specialized areas gives them really rewarding jobs that they can do while they're continuing their education. Some kids decide when they get these certifications, this is really a career I can latch onto.
When I meet with the graduates and the post-testees, there's a level of exhaustion and there's a level of celebration that is all happening at one time, and a relief. That feeling when they committed and studied and crammed and were able to validate their skill set really hits home, and they're never going to forget that process. This is the beginning. It's a validation of their skill set and their knowledge, and that we ask them to challenge themselves and make that the beginning and not the end of further education.
Without NHA, I would not be in the career field I am right now. Through their program, I was able to achieve my certifications, and I gained the confidence I needed in order to perform this job. So I would just like to say thank you to NHA.
I've been working with the National Health Career Association when they first started. So I remember when I wanted to become certified, and now I've been with them ever since.
It's been great working with NHA. We look forward to continuing our relationship, and we really want to thank you. One, for ease of use. Two, for the good customer service, and three, for the good products that you offer here for certifications.
It's been a great partnership for the last 15 years, and we're looking forward to another 15 years as well. Thank you, NHA.
Well, everybody, it's been a great day. We are continuing to watch the questions in the chat, so we'll continue to do that, as well as share out a recording of this and all the resources we talked about today. Is there anything else, Laura? Susan?
Yeah, we just got a really great question in the Q&A in regards to kind of what has updated since this last spring when we first launched live remote proctoring. We did post in the chat the link for tomorrow's session. That's actually, we are leading kind of the talk through of what that process looks like and feels like, and what resources are available through our main landing page on nhanow.com. Right at the very top is a little COVID-19 banner. Clicking on that will take you to all of our resources that are currently in existence for remote proctoring, for dealing with this interesting time that we're living through. And we do in fact have direct contact numbers for, our team, for the team for submitting incident reports if things happen. We've got a lot of really great processes set up in place that maybe didn't exist immediately last spring when we first launched this. As Donna says here in her question, we were in very uncharted territory at the time, and we have certified thousands and thousands of students in the interim and really streamlined this process. So tomorrow's webinar is going to talk a little bit more about that. If you guys can come to that, we'd love to have you. Please feel free to join us there. Unless if there are any other questions, I'd love to see that. Will the PowerPoints from today's be sent? No, the PowerPoints themselves will not be sent, but the recording will be. We do have a lot of resources that are very similar to these out there. But today's PowerPoint presentation, I don't believe, Laura, you weren't intending on posting that anywhere, were you?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So I see that there was a post about time zones with remote proctoring. That process, the time zone selection, has actually recently updated to try to make it even more user-friendly. But knowing your own time zone is something we can't really affect a huge amount if you don't know the time zone that you're in. A quick Google search will clarify that, but knowing what time zone you're in is part of that registering process. You have to pick your appropriate time zone. So that's something that we definitely want to make sure candidates are available for. Let's see.
Let's see. There's a question. Is the practice test available for me to see in the preview mode? That would definitely be something you work with your certification specialists on. You can answer questions, but it will not create a focused review for you as the instructor. The passcode.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple notes about the passcode. Before tomorrow's session, I'm definitely going to go double check and see what's going on there. So don't worry about that. Worst case scenario, we're going to try to deactivate that need for it at all. So hopefully we can get that turned off so it's not necessary tomorrow. Perfect. But I've gotten a couple notes on that. Thank you, Sue-Ann, for posting that there. I appreciate that. I know there have also been some other questions on educational purposes. This transition to distance learning, to online learning, to what we're all going through is really difficult for everyone. There's not really an elegant solution to say, hey, you're going to teach this practitioner certification online now. Here's how you do it. But we are trying to post some additional resources, some blogs posts through our website. We've got the Learning and Leading blog that is available if you go out on our website under the 4 schools. It's the very last link that you'll see. And there's been lots of posts on how to leverage your learning management system to its fullest potential, on how to help your students deal with entering a workforce right now. Even I saw something the other day on meditation for students. So please go take a look at that. There are a lot of resources out there. I feel like the more I'm talking, the more questions we're getting. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It looks like most of them are things we've mostly addressed, though.
Okay, perfect.
So I think we're in good shape. I really appreciate everybody joining us today, and I hope you have a really successful, enjoyable testing season. And I can't wait to see how many of your candidates get certified between now and the end of the year. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. This was recorded. We'll be posting it out on the website. Everybody have a great afternoon. Thank you again for joining us today. Appreciate it.